Good morning, Drew.
Yes, Tim?
You know how you sold your iPad because it doesn't run Mac OS and you wanted more pro workflows available for it?
Yeah?
Well, we didn't do any of that stuff, but we made it more expensive.
Tim.
And it still doesn't have optimized battery charging.
Tim!
But, there's still no calculator app. Oh, I'm gonna... The iPad Pros have been rumored for a while now to get OLED displays, and they're apparently heading into production within the next couple of months. Should be like a dual stacked OLED panel, which allows them to still get way brighter than most other OLED panels on Android tablets, which have had them for a long time, but they should be some of the most state-of-the-art displays Apple's ever made. We're talking about ProMotion, of course, Super Retina XDR, and now going up to 13 inches, whereas currently the largest OLED panel Apple uses is in the iPhone 15 Pro Max, which is 6.7 inches. These are going up to 13 inches and should still have that buttery smooth goodness with incredible dynamic range, but rumors are suggesting it's gonna cost us because obviously a dual stacked OLED panel like this has never been made before, and that is pointing to the concept of both the 11-inch and 13-inch iPad Pros getting a pretty massive price hike. In case you weren't aware, OLED displays, usually in most devices, is the most expensive component of the entire thing. It's by far the most expensive thing on our iPhones, and the rumors are suggesting that the OLED panels in the iPad Pros are about 3 times the price as the OLED displays in the iPhone. And okay, that's just the screen. That's not talking about the bigger battery and the M3 chip that's going to be in the iPad Pros as well. So that's why a lot of the rumors, while they may sound ridiculous and they may come from unreliable sources, in my view, are not honestly that crazy. They're talking about $1,500 for the 11-inch iPad Pro, and then going up to $1,800 for the 13-inch, which is, that's a hard pill to swallow. That's yikes territory. That's like, why even bother calling it an iPad Pro? Maybe this is the generation that they start branding it like iPad Max, or Max iPad, or some other way to pronounce that, and then iPad Ultra. I feel like if they called it iPad Ultra, maybe people could stomach the higher prices a little bit better, but yeah, I think that the production capacity of these iPads, similar to Apple Vision Pro, is rumored to be quite a bit lower than previous years, and that might be okay because Apple likely realizes that not a lot of people are going to consider updating their iPad Pros. As good as that OLED display may be, a lot of you are probably feeling the same way I am, which is that, that's okay. You know, if I want a big screen iPad, you'll be able to find a mini LED 12.9-inch version with an M1 chip and all that for much, much cheaper. And of course, the big elephant in the room that I'm trying my best not to talk about, because I know you guys have heard me talk about this endlessly, but like, we're all thinking it at the same time. Okay, more expensive iPad with fancier chip and fancier displays, but if it's still running iPad OS, and if it's still just running kind of iPhone apps on a bigger screen, and the only advantage over your iPhone is Apple Pencil features like drawing and note-taking, yeah, it's kind of hard to justify dropping that kind of money. I'm really, really hoping that if these price jumps prove to be accurate, they could at least update the default storage a little bit. 256, please. And honestly, if we're going up to $1,800 for the 13-inch model, yeah, just throw 512 in there, okay? This is already going to be tough for people to accept Apple, but knowing them, I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah, 128 gigs is fine for an iPad. You just use it for note-taking, right? Ugh, I can visualize it now. The other side of me is looking at this as, hey, I'm not an iPad customer anymore. A lot of us have kind of just decided that, you know what, I don't need to buy new iPads very frequently because old ones are still holding up very, very well, and the vast majority of iPads selling are all in the $500 range. So why would Apple bother making such expensive tiers? Well, because there's some people with more money than sense, I guess, or like we all have different incomes, and some of us are probably just going, it's not that big a stretch for my budget, and I want a really nice display for media watching or note-taking or drawing. I might as well go all the way. And if that's the only people buying the iPad Pro are people that just will buy it no matter what, I suppose with that mindset, it kind of makes sense for Apple to just go all out with it, right? Like, well, there's not a lot of people dropping big money on the iPad Pro, but the few people that are going to happily spend $1,500 or $1,800 or well over $3,000 on their iPad because they know what they want and they've got the money for it. So why not just capitalize on that kind of very rich market more, and the margins for it will probably be pretty fantastic. It should also probably be mentioned that a lot of the iPad lineup is starting to blur together a little bit. The 11-inch iPad Pro has a lot of similarities with the iPad Air. iPad Air has a lot of similarities with the iPad 10. So maybe Apple's just intentionally trying to push the Pros up a little bit higher so that there's more justification for that extra money. Like, if you're gonna spend your money on an iPad that's more than an iPad Air, you should get a little bit more than a ProMotion display, especially since the iPad Air is getting a larger size variant in a couple months as well. The iPad Air is starting to feel a lot more like the Pro, and who knows, maybe within the next couple of years they'll start bringing ProMotion displays to the iPad Mini and the iPad Air, and then the Pros are going to be very difficult to justify, so giving them some crazy good OLED panels that get really bright and have way better dynamic range than the liquid retina displays, which are basic LCDs that they put in the cheaper iPads. Yeah, the more I think about it, the more sense this kind of makes, as the iPad, I've accepted, is not going to be a Mac replacement as much as I want it to be. I understand. I'm not going to fight on this anymore. I know the iPad is not going to run Mac OS. It's not going to get fully unlocked Final Cut, and it's not going to get a calculator app. That's just not possible physically on Earth in our lifetime. But if the goal is just to make the iPad this really great canvas for people to write on and draw on, and there's way better technology and people that are willing to pay for it, which with Apple, Vision Pro is kind of a perfect example. Yeah, somebody's gonna buy it. Apple's got that much brand power. Might as well go all out with it. Sure, $2,000, $3,000 iPads with displays and cameras that cannot be beat. That would be my one request, Apple. If you're going all out with the iPads and going super expensive with the displays and the chips and everything, why don't you just put the same camera that we have in our 15 Pros? I don't care if it's thick on the back. Everybody with an iPad gets a case anyway. Put some crazy good cameras on there too, so that someone could like film and edit really high quality videos together on their iPads. But wait, what do I know? What do you guys think of $1,500 and $1,800 starting prices for the iPad Pro? Is this crazy, or is it like evil genius territory? Feel free to comment down below your thoughts, and thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. It seriously helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. And thanks again. This is your Apple Sheep here, and I will see you all in the next one.